Welcome to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. I'm Dr. Amy Coopersmith, a doctorate prepared nurse practitioner, and this show is about empowering you to live a radiant, healthy, and balanced life. I'm very excited to introduce my guest today, Carrie Meng, founder of Elevate Events. Carrie graduated from the University of Florida with a Bachelor of Science in Exercise and Sports Sciences, a minor in nutrition, and a Master of Science in Sports Management. Carrie founded Elevate Events in 2012 and has held various race director positions for larger organizations like Ragnar and Color Run. She is currently the assistant race director for Western States, a 100-mile endurance event, and she is currently training to run that race herself. Welcome, and thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Dr. Amy. Thank you for having me.
So, what inspired you to start an events company?
Well, when I worked, my first job in Flagler County was at Fitness
That's
One.
right.
And we decided to put on a 5K event, partially on the property at Fitness One. And it was a fundraiser for the Flagler Free Clinic. And I loved putting on that race and the organization part of it and bringing runners together. And I thought a job race directing would be super fun. And it is, but much harder than I probably realized at the time. And so I ended up getting a job, as you mentioned, with the Ragnar Relay as a race director. And once I realized I was kind of at a bit of a limitation of growth with the company, being in Florida, and the company's based in Utah, and I really didn't want to leave Florida. That's when I decided to start my own event company here in Flagler County.
Yeah, and you've put on so many fun events over the years, and that's actually how we met. Initially, was at Fitness One, and I ran that race.
That's right.
It was
Hit the trail.
super fun, and you actually coordinated a few events for ladies, and that's kind of how I got my friend group. Was people
Super
like-minded
striders.
people?
That's
yes,
right.
yes. So, what inspired you to become an endurance athlete?
Oh gosh, I don't know if anything inspired me per se. I was always pretty active in middle school, high school. My dad ran in cross country in high school. When he was in high school, I actually ran under the same coach that he did. So it just kind of became a part of my life. In college, I ran less when I wasn't part of a team, when I left high school and no longer had a team. Until I saw like a flyer to run a marathon, and it just wasn't as popular back then, but decided I wanted to try to run a marathon. I knew nothing about training. I didn't even own a watch at the time. So I just kind of went for it, and it was super hard, but very rewarding. And I kind of just stuck with it. So when I moved to Flagler County after graduating college, I started a running group through Fitness One. And really, like, although there's lots of individual benefits to running, it's also about bringing the community together, and through events and through the clubs and our Super Striders group that we had, the ladies of promoting community wellness. So yeah, I don't know of initial inspiration when I was younger, but different things throughout the years have inspired me to continue running and other endurance sports such as triathlons and various fun things like that.
Crazy fun stuff.
Yes.
So your company, you do formal events and informal to promote community wellness. So what role do you see your company playing in just enhancing the health of the community?
Yeah, so I try to approach the events as more of like a lifestyle adoption of being outdoors and being in nature and appreciating our trails in Flagler County. We have so many amazing trails, but also appreciating like Mother Earth as a whole and taking care of it, sustainability, things that come along with that. But making it fun, and especially for all the kids events that I do.
Yes.
We want them to have fun, or, they probably don't want to do it much more after that. But also challenging. And there's so many metaphors in these running events that they can carry over to life, pushing themselves, trying something new, getting out of their comfort zone, supporting their fellow runners, through sportsmanship. So when I had the idea to start the kids events, all of these things were taken into consideration of how you pack all of that in and also manage a bunch of kids on trails. And then also for adults, of course, my events started with adult events, and I still have those also. But it really comes down to community and feeling like we're doing something good for ourselves and for each other when we're out there together.
Awesome. So your kids' event series is called Where the Wild Ones Run.
That's right.
Where'd that name come from?
It just came to me one day, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I have at Trail Fest, a different event that's not a kids event, I always have a free kids run that's part of it. And it would attract, 10 or so kids, and they would just come out and run half a mile. And I thought, there's nothing around that is only for kids. And it's a little bit of a play on that, the book series from our childhood. And I like the idea of being wild and kind of going back to our roots and letting kids be kids and running through the woods. There's not many other things that kind of make you feel free and wild than doing that and letting them get that energy out and being away from sidewalks and cars and roads. And it's just a totally different feeling running through the woods and on trails. So when I honestly don't remember the exact moment, but where the Wild Ones Run came into my head, I was like, oh, that's absolutely perfect. Like, I want to create a space for the wild ones to run wild through the woods.
It's so important, I think, for their emotional development to get that energy out. Just our kids are so sedentary these days, and it just really affects their learning and behavior, of course, and their sleep and their growing and all of that.
Absolutely. So, yeah. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And, that I know when we started Super Striders years ago, like kids' health and wellness was a big part of what we wanted to impact. So this is just a kind of continuation of that goal for me. And I know how running changed my life as a kid and how it has completely shaped my life professionally and personally. So I wanted to give back in that way.
And it's such a great exposure for them because it's fun. It's not like really go out and exercise, kids. It's like, hey, go play in the woods.
That's right. And jump off rocks, step over roots, run in the dirt. Yes.
It's just so much fun. I did that race one year with my grandson, and he had a great time. He was a little young, but he enjoyed it, and he got his little medal at the end, and then had a donut because that's okay once in a while as a treat.
Okay. Yep, that's right. Yes, we have as young as 3, and occasionally I've had a 2-year-old join us. So, so it's been honestly that 3 to 5 age group is my favorite age group. They run with so much joy. It's really fun to watch and come across the finish line and be so proud of themselves for doing something hard.
That's a big part of it is I did it.
That's right.
So how early can a child do a structured running program?
A structured running program. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it really depends on that individual child probably. Yeah. At 3 or 5, we're probably not doing much of a structured program as more of like, let's, keep it fun, keep it safe. But even the distance that we run at Where the Wild Ones Run is usually around a half a mile. So as they get older, the distance goes up. We have 3 age groups. And but as far as, a structured regular, probably not till they're a little bit older.
Right.
There's a lot of bone developing still.
Yes.
but there's middle school teams that are running double-digit mileage throughout the week, and I think it's great for them.
But those kids are amazing.
They are very.
I know I couldn't run like that when I was young.
And we didn't have quite the opportunities that they have now for these middle school teams and programs and stuff. It's awesome.
So how can parents and coaches help help the kids, build their form and develop endurance, but not overdo it?
Yeah, gradual. When the kids are starting off, they're going to start off very light mileage. We want to keep it fun as much as possible. It's not always going to be fun, and life isn't always fun. So we're not trying to cater to that, but we want them to keep coming back and be interested. But as far as introducing them, it would just be like a gradual. So you're going to start them off at shorter runs and making sure they're warming up and teaching them a stretching routine, things of that sort. And as they develop, then you can start increasing mileage and have them run a little bit further. And every kid is going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to progress at a different rate.
Well, good. So you also have a trail series or trail event.
Yes, Trail Fest.
Trail Fest.
Yes, so Trail Fest at Graham Swamp. This is going to be year 8
Oh my.
that we've done this event, and it's at the Graham Swamp Preserve, which is on Colbert Lane. It's a mountain bike trail primarily, and a lot of people run it. There's a hiking trail as well. I'm on the board for the Graham Swamp Trail crew that manages the trail and all the trail maintenance efforts, and we put on Trail Fest there every November. There's a mountain bike race and 2 running events, a 10K and a 5K. And that's when we also have the free kids run that's like about a half mile long. And then we usually have live music, and we have a free yoga session for anyone. So it's a really just fun community festival event that helps raise money for the club and brings the community together in a place that we all love so much, and is a really nice challenge and something different. So many people, if they do run, are used to running on one of the many amazing paved paths we have in Flagler County, and this gives them the opportunity to run that mountain bike trail, which could be a little bit more challenging.
Challenging.
Yes, but also more fun in my opinion. But
It is fun. And there's a lot of research that shows being in nature is so important for our mental health,
absolutely.
for staying grounded. And, we have a really stressed out community. We're a stressed out society. And just even taking a walk in the woods, going on that hiking trail over in Graham Swamp, it's going to help you just diffuse all that negative energy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree with that. And you might see a turtle, definitely some birds, some squirrels.
Sometimes a snake, but
I
usually
wasn't going to mention that, Amy.
usually they'll slither away.
Yes.
They don't bother you too much. And we've seen boar out there.
Yep, lots of wild boar, which is why the Graham Swamp Kids Race is called the Wild Boar Run.
Yes. And they usually stick to themselves too, but they can be a little bit like, oh, there's a boar.
Yeah, they're scared of us.
So you've worked with runners of all ages. How do you give advice to a more mature athlete as we're all getting a little older? Sometimes we need to change things up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that depends on if they have been an athlete their whole lives or most of their lives. Somebody starting off older would probably have very similar advice to, one of the kids starting off is, take it easy at first. But as we get older, recovery is longer. And that's just the way it is, unfortunately.
Yep.
So paying way more attention to how you're recovering. I'm still running as many more miles than I was in my 30s, and I'm going to be 50 in a few years. So, but I am way more aware and cognizant of how I recover, and that's through nutrition, but also through sports massage, through foam roll, myofascial release. Sleeping is a huge one. So much of
So important.
our recovery happens during our sleep. So I'd say 100% for our mature athletes. I like the way you put that. So mature these days is recovery and making sure you're taking care of yourself so that you can continue to do those endurance sports that you love so much.
That you want to do.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to have you hold that thought. We're going to pause for a moment for a commercial break from our sponsor. You're listening to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. I'm Dr. Amy Coopersmith, and my guest today is Carrie Meng from Elevate Events. Before the break, we were talking about the importance of recovery and injury prevention. So you mentioned myofascial release. What is that?
It's a technique that you can either do on yourself with the proper tools like foam rolling or myofascial release balls, but also through a therapist, like a massage therapist, physical therapist. But basically the fascia and myo stands for muscle, but so the fascia that surrounds our muscle is releasing that in very rudimentary terms. But, we all get knots or tight or sore, especially from endurance events. So releasing that is helping your speed up recovery. So, for instance, if I have like my hip, something in my hip is tight or my glute or what have you, like I'll make sure I tell my massage therapist and she's going to focus on that. And, or I'll focus on that when I'm foam rolling and, and there's lots of great videos on YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah. That you can, watch to learn those techniques. But it's probably, in my opinion, like one of the number one helpful things in injury prevention when you're wanting, especially if you're pushing yourself athletically on different types of sports and running, which is very hard on your body because it's an impact sport. But yeah, lots of great videos out there to teach that.
Yep. And a foam roller is like $20 on Amazon or Target.
Oh, super easy to get.
Yep. And it hurts a little bit, but it feels good later.
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
one of those things you should get through. And absolutely, if something's hurting, it feels kind of counterintuitive. If something hurts to press on it. But that actually does help it release so that you can recover.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yes, absolutely.
That and lacrosse balls.
And lacrosse balls, that would be considered like a myofascial tool, using those very hard balls to get into spots to release. But yes, that's in my arsenal as well.
Yes. So you are training to run the 100-mile race at Western States.
Yes, I am. Yes, I started working for Western States just a few years ago. It's a 100-mile endurance running event in California. It's actually the oldest 100-miler in the U.S. It started 52 years ago. And when I got hired to work for them, it was probably the greatest turning point in my career. It's a pretty prestigious and iconic event. So to be hired as the assistant race director has been a huge honor and privilege. And I was offered a spot in the race. The spots are very hard to come by. There's only 369 spots and about 10,000 people that apply for it.
Wow.
So I was offered a spot through the race director and the board, and I had to run a 100-mile qualifying race last year just to get
prove
in.
that you could do it.
Yeah, basically.
So you've done this already.
So I did it in Florida, which is quite different than California, Northern California. But yes, been training since December for that. I hired a coach who's familiar with the race course. I bought a treadmill, which has been a significant help in getting the elevation training in that I need, because there's quite a bit of climbing as well as even more so downhill, which if you've ever run downhill, you know how difficult it is.
And really hard to train for.
Very hard, almost impossible in Florida to train for this type of downhill, the impact that it puts on your quads. And so I bought this treadmill that has a downhill function, and it's been a tremendous help in getting my legs ready and getting my body ready for that kind of impact. So it's been a really fun process, and I'm looking forward to putting in all my hard work into a day of celebration on the trails.
Yeah, so I was doing a little researching, and so people that have run a marathon, which is 26.2 miles, of the entire population for a person who have done that one time in their life, it's less than 1% of the population. Wow. So then I said, okay, how many people run a 100-mile race? And it came out to 0.0004 or something like that.
Wow.
So it's very, I don't want to say unusual, but special, I think is the right word.
We are very special.
And maybe a little crazy.
Yeah, probably, yes. Not definitely. It's funny, in my world of race directing, in the ultra world, most people run ultra marathons that are in my circle and that part of my life. So it's funny to hear that such a small percentage.
Yes. Because in your world, everyone does this.
Exactly.
What? No big deal.
I'm one of the few that hasn't run Western States, for instance, especially, that in the organization. So, I remember there's a much bigger world out there than this little ultra circle.
Yes. So when I ran my first marathon, you were there and ran the last mile with me. And when I finished, you said, "Oh, do you want to do an ultra?" And I said, "No, I don't."
Bad time for me to ask that. How about now? Have you changed your mind?
No, I think I'm good. Okay. I'm going to cheer you on.
Okay.
Instead.
All right. That's important too.
So what does a typical day look like for you to do all this training?
For the training. I also started strength training regularly. I did it years ago when I worked at Fitness One, but have completely gotten out of the routine of strength training. It's always just been on the back burner. I couldn't stay accountable with myself to do it. And I have the know-how, but I really needed kind of somebody to structure a plan for me.
Yep.
So when I got offered this spot in the race, which I take extremely serious, I decided in addition to hiring a running coach, I was going to hire a personal trainer. So twice a week, I work with a personal trainer for the strength training part. That's at 6:00 in the morning, twice a week. And then it usually involves running before and after, except for the last couple weeks, my coach has had me start doing all my runs in the heat. So now I'm not running till 12, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon because the race that I'm doing is very hot.
Oh.
And
In
heat
California,
training is a thing.
that's too bad.
Yeah, I know. Yes, it'll be in the mid 80s to potentially 90 for the race. So we are now working on heat training, which also includes me going to the sauna, which I've been doing as well.
Okay.
So we have the strength training, we have the running, we have the sauna, we have nutrition training. So that's training your gut to handle all the eating that you need to
How
do.
do you eat while you're running?
Yeah, it takes practice. And, the people will be like, oh, I just can't do it. Well, yes, you can, but you have to train that as well. So during all of my runs, basically that are been an hour or more, I eat. So a lot of it is the gels that you hear about and chews, but also incorporating a little bit of real food here and there too, peanut butter and jelly or different types of bars. There's so many options out there, and a lot of liquid calories. A lot of sodium. I had a sweat test done this year to make sure I'm taking in enough electrolytes. Very salty sweater. So, hyponatremia is a real concern for
Life-threatening.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I feel like I've done anything that I can control. I've tried to do for this training block. So, so a typical day, and then I usually am doing a cold plunge at some point that I have at my house. I converted a deep freezer to a cold plunge, so I'm doing that for anti-inflammation, and then I regularly see a massage therapist to stay injury. See, this is what happens when you get old and you still want to run far. Is you have to do all these
lot
things.
of stuff.
I know it feels like a part-time job sometimes.
This seems like a
in.
full-time job doing all this.
Yes, it's a lot. It's been so fun though. I've really enjoyed it.
Good.
Yeah.
So, how long does it take to run 100 miles?
Well, it depends on if you're asking me or our elite runners. Our fastest runners will finish around 14 hours. I mean, it's just unbelievable. That's professional runners.
Yeah.
Western States and most 100 milers, like a main goal is to run it in one day, which means 24 hours. So that's a big goal.
That's a long day.
That's a long day. My first 100, I was able to get under 24, so 23:05-ish, I believe. And then the cutoff time is 30 hours.
Okay.
So most of the runners at Western States will be between the 24 and 30 hour mark. And 24 hours is going to be your little bit more advanced runners, if you will, which anything can happen to anybody. You can have a bad day, you can have a good day, but you have up until 30 hours to finish at Western States. And different 100 milers have different cutoff times, but that's for this race specifically.
And do you sleep during that time?
No.
Do you run the whole time?
There's a fair amount of hiking. There's a lot of steep climbs, so people will power hike those, run the downhills and the flats. The people that are winning are running nearly every step.
I cannot imagine that.
Yeah,
that is so hardcore and intense.
Yes, agreed. I'm going to try to run as much as I can, but there will be some hiking.
Oh, yes. I think you have to. So this is like a big, bucket list thing.
Absolutely.
What's next?
I don't know. I'm not thinking past June 28th, 29th.
Ask me next month.
I am laser focused on this
yes.
goal. Yes. So my what next questions, I'm like, I'm not sure. I'm going to recover. I'm going to take some time off so my body heals completely, and then I'm not sure what's next, but something fun
something
and
awesome.
adventurous for sure.
Well, good. So if somebody wants to check in with you to see how it went, are you going to be putting it on social media, or what's your plan?
Probably. Yes. I will for sure have updates on Instagram, Carrie Me to the Mountains, or Facebook. And I'll probably post something on my Elevate event page after the event So
And so for people to find out about that, they should visit your Elevate event page, and also to check out the wonderful events coming, in the next year. It's a great way for people to just start their fitness journey or continue it.
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
highly
If you want to
recommend
do
it.
some fun local events, come see us and get the kiddos signed up for
Yes.
next year's series. We'll be opening that in a few months.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being on this show. And I cannot wait to hear how you did in your race.
Thanks,
It's going to
Dr.
be
Amy.
awesome.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate your support always.
And thanks to our listeners for tuning in to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. If there are topics you would like to hear, please send an email to radiantpodcast2025@gmail.com. Check out past episodes on Amethyst Wellness YouTube, and please like and subscribe. I'll be back next Saturday morning at 7:30 with more expert insights and practical strategies to help you live your healthiest, most energized life. Until then, stay healthy, and here's to your best life.